There's a lot of people out there that say that hard work is the main reason for their success.
You always want to outwork your potential. As hard as you believe you can work harder than that.
What would you say is the #1 reason why people fail?
Lack of brains, lack of effort.
Lack of brains, lack of effort.
Yeah, they don't do the work.
And they just work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in, 80 to 100 hour weeks every week.
And quite honestly, even in my short career of being an engineer for the past 6 years, I've seen kind of the same thing. In a couple of my past videos, I've talked about how the construction industry calls for a lot of hours on the job. And for the past 6 years, I've pretty much been working an average of like 60 hours a week. And that works for me, but maybe not for everyone. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today. Why I personally believe that your 20s are the best time for you to buckle down and work hard, and my thoughts on when hard work works and when it doesn't. But what will work is if you take your cursor and just left click the like button to turn it blue, and then move that cursor to the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you won't miss any more videos from this dude from Hawaii talking about engineering and finance. And now an engineer's perspective on work ethic. So why do I believe that your 20s are the most important time for you to just buckle down and hustle? In your 20s, you likely don't have any kids, you don't have a spouse, so there's nothing really holding you back, and you're still trying to figure out what you really are in the world. So for me, I always thought I'd rather spend the time at work and build a foundation of knowledge, because later on in my life, my priorities were going to change. So for me personally, I figured 10 years down the line, I'll have maybe a wife and kids, and that will be my #1 priority, and work would probably take a back seat. Because I know for me, if I bring a child into the world, just morally, I feel like I have to be there for that person. It's my responsibility to make sure this child grows up in a great environment. So I likely won't be able to spend the 60, 70, 80 hours per week at work because I have someone else depending on me. So because I figure I'm going to put in the time now to build a good foundation for my future when I may not be able to put in that much time, it helps me buckle down and keep going right now when I'm in my 20s. And for me also, I always thought that the value of me working and gaining knowledge from my job was always going to be more valuable than pretty much anything else I was doing. So like for me, I've worked a lot of weekends and nights where maybe I learned different programs or I learned to read different kinds of drawings. Whereas using those hours and days to maybe just go out and party or do something else that's maybe more fun, but it won't really give me a very good benefit in the long run. And also in your 20s, if you're not attached and you don't have a lot of commitments, you have a lot of opportunities to fail. Like sometimes you can do side hustles or go on to some sort of business venture, because it's a little bit more irresponsible for you to put yourself in a financial risky situation when you have other people depending on you. But when you're in your 20s, I mean, if you fail, maybe you can move back in with your parents and it's really not that weird. But here's the one thing about my mindset that really resonates with me when it comes to working, is that if there's someone putting 40 hours a week and I'm putting 60 hours a week, in 1 year I would have put in the work and accomplished what it would take you an extra 26 months to catch up to what I've done. And after that, it would be a whole year of things that I have on top of the next person that's only working 40 hours a week. So you kind of create this snowball effect of you gaining knowledge and helping yourself to the point where other people won't really catch you up. And actually now in my career, I'm actually starting to see a little bit of that. Not that I'm like the greatest engineer out there, but you start to see that people that started the same time as you, that didn't put in as much effort as you did, are maybe a step or two behind of where you are at, and it just makes your job easier. And your work ethic and the time that you put in is something that you can control. You can't necessarily control your looks, your race, and your age, but work ethic and the time that you want to put in, something you can control. And I think your 20s is the best time for you to try to apply yourself and figure out who you really are. But I know there's going to be people saying out there, well, sir, you could die tomorrow. Do you really want to just spend your whole time working? And there is some truth to that statement. But for me, and probably because I'm just a mathematical guy at heart, I'm kind of playing the odds. I mean, especially now with modern medicine, the likelihood that you're actually going to make it to your retirement age is a lot higher than it used to be. And that's why from a numbers and probability standpoint, I want to kind of plan to what's most likely going to happen. And that's why I'm trying to think in like a long-term mindset. I know that if and when I have kids and I want to set them up for a good future, I know that I'll be very thankful that I spent those few $1,000s on buying a home and an appreciating asset than spending it on some lavish vacation in Bali that I really have nothing to show for at the end of the day. So those are a few reasons of why I think you should really take advantage of your 20s, and it's mostly really to avoid regrets later on when you're older. But I will admit that hard work is not always the answer. I think there's certain things that need to be in place that help hard work actually be the path to success. So now we're going to go over some situations where I think hard work works, and conversely when it doesn't, and it's basically the opposite of each other. So let's get into that now. So I think hard work is most effective when you're applying it to something that you're relatively passionate about. So whether you're doing engineering, business, or maybe even beekeeping, if you're really passionate about that kind of work and you pair hard work and work ethic with that, I think that's a great recipe for success. So like you take legends out there like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, and probably even like Elon Musk. These are three guys that people consider very successful, but I would argue that these people are almost obsessed with their craft. And to me, this kind of actually resonates with me a lot. Because when I was in high school and maybe even a little bit at college, I would argue that I was kind of a lazier guy. But once I got into the workforce and I started really enjoying my job and I grew a pretty good passion for it, it was really easy for me to put in 60-hour weeks. And I was really excited to actually keep learning and growing in my job. And that's why on the flip side, I think hard work doesn't work when you're just putting in hours just to work. And those are the situations where I think people think hard work just leads to burnout. Because in those situations, you're not really focused on the learning and the passion about it. You're focused on just the hard work that you're putting in. And I've seen it time and time again. And I hear a lot of people also say that they're just working hard now so that they can get to like the next position. But they're actually really miserable putting in all this time and effort now. So sometimes I'll even challenge them and say, do you even really know what that next position is really like? So sometimes I see people just get into this trap of just working hard, thinking that they're moving towards this goal that they're not really even sure if that's really what they want to do. It's just so much easier for you to put in that time and effort when you're really actually enjoying what you're doing. Hard work also works when you have a clear direction. So I think if you have a clear and focused goal and a reason of why you're putting in all that effort, it helps you stay on track. And maybe that's why some people can put in those long hours at the jobs that they really don't like. Because their goal and their reason for doing it is so clear, because maybe it's for their kids or some sort of philanthropic cause. So like for me, my goal in working is always to just learn more about the construction industry. I want to learn different ways of building. I want to learn why the sequence is the way it is. I want to know why something costs so much and how to actually handle negotiations. So every single day I'm focused on learning something new to the industry that's just going to add to like my encyclopedia of construction knowledge in my brain. But if I were to just aimlessly just go around and just try to hustle but not really have any sort of direction or something that I'm working towards, I can see how it can be really easy to burn out. Because you'll be putting in all this time and effort, but you don't really know where you're going. So you feel like you're just running around in a circle and you don't really feel any closer to any sort of destination. And that's why I think having a clear direction is so important. I also think working hard is very effective when you try to think of it in a way of laying a foundation for yourself. And a good phrase that I think about when you're like laying the foundation for your career is enjoying the process. So what I mean by that is really understanding the foundations of what you're really trying to do and making sure that as you try to move up and progress in your career, it's set on something very solid. If you try to skip steps and just climb the ladder and just try to get promoted, and you're not focused on building that foundation, and when you're new to the industry, you can kind of tell those managers or people above you that really skip steps to get there. You don't want to be that person. And going back to enjoying the process, you kind of have to understand and really see value in the grunt work in order for you to help build that foundation. So I think a great example of enjoying the process is trying to exercise and lose weight. Like I think everyone can get on board with, looking better, feeling better, and just the idea of being healthy is probably appealing to a lot of people. But what's not appealing to a lot of people is the process of getting there. Eating all the clean foods and staying away from the pizzas and working out every day and sweating and exerting energy. So if you only focus on the end goal, but you can't find enjoyment in the process of getting there, you're gonna burn out and the hard work's not gonna go very far for you. So when you focus on laying that foundation, working really hard so that you can form that base so that you can build on top of it, can really help set you up for your future. I also think that the more time that you put into something, the more opportunities you give yourself to actually succeed. So for me, I view that in maybe terms of knowledge. When I'm on the job and I'm spending those extra hours, I learn a little bit more and I just accelerate my process and my career growth. It's kind of similar to what I was saying before. What'll take me 1 year to go through may take someone 1.5 to 2 years. And I think my YouTube channel is actually a pretty good example of this. I mean, even though I put in 60 hours of work a week, I just decided to take this upon myself and try to put myself out there on the internet. And at first, no one really watched me, and it's not like I have a huge audience now. But by putting in those hours every week, trying to improve my videos every time, and just staying consistent with it and enjoying that process, I made video after video, and then soon one of them kind of hit. So all that hard work gave me an opportunity to be seen in front of a bunch of people, and luckily some of you guys liked it. And then finally, and this probably is one of the most important ones, I think that hard work is only effective when you're doing it for yourself. So I believe hard work, and probably anything in life, has to have some sort of self-interest, or else you're not gonna stick with it. So like for me at work, a selfish reason of why I do what I do is because I want to learn. I have a vested interest in the industry. I want to learn for myself. I want to build my building knowledge. So that's a selfish thought, and that's kind of why I stick with it, because it's about me. Say that you really want to work hard for your family. You want to make sure that you can provide for them because that is your number one priority. But that's your decision, your selfish decision for your family. And that's why I say it has to be all about your own ownership. You own your own learning, you own your own family, and you own your actions when you're consciously making decisions based upon what you prioritize and what you want. So like I always felt this too when I was in school. Like sometimes I just felt like my parents wanted me to get good grades. My parents wanted me to work hard. Whenever you lose that sense of accountability that somebody else is forcing you to do something and you're not doing it on your own accord, it makes it very tough for you to work hard and just move forward. And that's why I say it has to come from you. Has to come from within. So those are my thoughts on work ethic. I hope that was somewhat helpful for you, and maybe if you agree or disagree with anything, I would love to hear your guys' discussion in the comments below. I know that this is a little bit of a different video, but if you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can join our growing family here on YouTube. And don't forget to use the link below if you want to get 2 free stocks from Webull that could be worth over $1,800 by just depositing $100 on their platform. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate everyone's time, and I'll see you on the next video.